topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Connected Table Live. We're your hosts, Melanie Young and David Ransom, your insatiably curious culinary couple. We travel the world to bring you the amazing people and places we visit, the wines we taste, the foods we eat, and the warm hospitality we experience so we can share them with you so you can plan and travel accordingly with what we suggest. We are doing a series based on a very recent trip to specific parts of Western Tuscany. That's right, kind of an area that we've been to, but not been to a lot. You know, we were talking about this before the show. A lot of Americans go to Tuscany, particularly in the summer. We saw them.
It's a big destination for Americans.
It's a major destination.
And everybody else, too, for that matter.
Right. But usually everybody does the grand tour of Italy. They go to Rome, Florence, Venice, or they go to Florence, if it's Tuscany, Florence, Siena, San Gimignano, or maybe they'll add on Pisa and Lucca, or maybe they go to Cortona or little places around. And it's awesome. I mean, we've been to I don't think we've been to Cortona. We've been everywhere else. And of course, we love going to Chianti Classico, which is like right there. However, we decided we had an opportunity with Toscana Promozioni to explore Tuscany from a different standpoint through the Strada del Vino, Olio and Sapori. These are designated spots to travel and experience local wines, olive oils, and local food producers. What's interesting is there's several of these strada. Strada means roads, and they're meant to be Tuscan wine and food trails, and there's dozens of them.
Yeah.
You can go to Visit Tuscany to learn more. We did this one specifically. We said, let's go somewhere we really haven't spent a lot of time, where we haven't tasted as many wines. And goodness knows we've tasted a lot of Tuscan wines.
We have done that over the years, that's for sure. And we've actually tasted some of the wines from this region, but we had never been to it.
Exactly.
So this is the region of Tuscany, which is, if you go to Florence, you look west towards the Tyrrhenian Sea, and you look out towards Lucca, Pisa. Everybody knows Pisa, the Leaning Tower, of course. And then also the Tuscan coast is there too. And there's a lot to do out there, and that's where we're taking you on this.
Now, we just did our last show, because this is a series, took all of us to the Collini Pisani, so the hills around Pisa. Beautiful area. We visited the birthplace of Pinocchio, Collodi. We went to the Lucan Hills around the beautiful town of Lucca. We went up toward Montecucco, a very small DOC with some really terrific producers, but it was a lot. So ours was a 12-day trip. So now we're going to take you to where we left off at the very top. I mean, so northern west of Tuscany, you're practically in Liguria. You're in the Apuan Alp area. Actually, it's kind of an interesting area. It's called the Massa Carrara and Candia Hills, Collini Candia Colli Alpuani. It's actually a DOC around the Apuan Alps, the Candia Hills. I think it's remote, although we talked about it. There's some pretty big beachside towns right there too, resorts.
Carrara Carrara and Massa and Pietrasanta, and a little bit further south, the Forte de Marmi. That's all beach town area. Right. And there's a lot going on. And the Candia Hills really are only a couple of miles from the beach, but they're rugged because the hills become rugged very quickly once you leave the coast in that area to go up to the marble quarries of Carrara.
It's so true.
So the Candia Hills are kind of sandwiched between the marble quarries in the Apuan Alps and the sea. So it's not far from the sea, but it takes a little bit to get there.
Which leads us to this photo behind us. We're in a marble. We're actually right outside a Carrara marble quarry, where we had this incredible opportunity to tour a marble quarry. Now, One, a lot of these marble quarries have been in families for generations, including this one. And the family owner took us through it. We debated on doing an external versus the internal, but it looked like we were in a cave. We were. It was a quarry. It's all marble. So Italy's world renowned in this area, Massa Carrara, for supplying most of the marble that goes to homes, commercial buildings, to create works of art, famous sculptures. It's some of the world's finest marble. Most people don't get to visit this particular quarry. We were on a private Jeep tour, and boy, was that ride like switchback and gravel and switchback.
Yes, exactly. This marble is actually in Massa, which is the next town south of Carrara.
Correct.
And so it's a Massa quarry, but it's all the same mountain range and it's all the same marble area. So Carrara is the more famous, Carrara marble, obviously. And you can do public tours there.
Yes.
If you go up to the area where the quarries are, and there's a lot of them. I think there's like 150 quarries that are working up in the Massa and Carrara area. So a lot of them are family owned, and this is where we went with the owner Stefano, whose family owns this mine. They've owned it since I think the 1950s, when they purchased the quarry from the previous owner, who we don't know what the story was, but anyways, they purchased it and they have been mining it for 50 years or quarrying it for 50 years. And it was spectacular to go in there and see, because the mine, he thinks, from records, was first opened by the Medici family when they were looking for marble to put on some of the facades of the buildings that they owned around Tuscany. So that's when it was first done. It's much bigger now, obviously, and the advent of mechanics and electricity, et cetera, have really greatly helped move things forward there and expand them very quickly.
We were there. They were working. We had to put on protective gear galore and boots because it was wet, and we went literally into the quarry, and it's like going into caves.
Yeah,
except they're all white with veins of color. That was amazing enough. And as we said, ours was a private tour, but you can do this similar tours in Carrara, and there's going up. We went over to those mines. By the time we got there, they were closed, but there was a wonderful sculpture garden there, and a man who he had a little shop. It was really a great sculpture museum of marble. But what really was kind of our pinch us moment was that Pier Paolo Lorieri, who was a vintner, who we went to go see his property afterward, he cellars some of his natural wines in the quarry. And we walked in, he was there with his viticulturist, his technical director, Michelangelo, how appropriate. Michelangelo opening wines in a quarry. And we tasted his wines with some remarkable Colonnata lardo, which I learned is a very special artisan lardo. It looks like giant loaves of bread, and he brought them out, Pier Paolo, and sliced them right there for us. It was a cured meat that's named after a local village. It was used to feed the quarry workers, so they had nourishing meals because it's very remote up there. I mean, it takes a while to get there, and once they're there, they're not coming down the mountain anytime soon. Right. So that was an incredible experience for us. And of course, there was a lot of local cheeses, and we tasted the wines, and we tasted different vintages. Many of them are not available it was just a special experience for us. But as we said, you can visit the quarries of Carrara, and we would recommend it. Likewise, you can taste the wines of the Candia Hills, which we did next. So the DOC, Denomination Origin Controllata, Candia dei Colli Apuani, was established in 1974, and there are about 35 producers in this region. This is so interesting. Many qualify as heroic viticulturalists. I don't know. That was a term that was kind of new for me, David. It refers to cultivating vines and making wines in isolated areas with extreme and challenging environments. In fact, the classification, there's actually a center that does this classification on the advancement of mountain viticulture. The vineyard can be classified as heroic if it meets at least one of the following criteria: a minimum 30 degrees slope inclination, altitude above 500 meters, sea level, terrace vine cultivation in vineyards located in an isolated remote site, such as volcanoes, islands, and remote mountains. Now, thinking about that, we've probably been to areas of heroic viticulture, but they didn't call themselves that.
We definitely have.
Yeah, we definitely have. But
I think the term's kind of a newish term.
Yeah.
But the premise is age old, because people have been farming in heroic, shall we say, places for a long time.
I would say Valtellina is probably one of them.
Valtellina is one.
Areas of Etna.
The Rangan Vineyard in Alsace is another one, very steep. The Cartizze Hill in Valdobbiadene, Prosecco area.
Yes.
Conegliano Valdobbiadene is a very steep hill.
And probably where we're going in Greece soon, Rouvalis, which is in the northern Peloponnesus, very, very high up. Steep. So it's I think it's a new term to us, but it was interesting. So the winery is Agricola Poderi Scortarola. Scortarola means shortcut, but there were no shortcuts to get to this winery. More switchbacks, mountains, and gorgeous views in a bouncy Jeep. Pier Paolo Lorieri it's his family's property. Literally, there's a cluster of homes. I don't know how old he is, but he is nimble as a goat. He took us on these steep, long, sloped vineyards, kind of pruning along the way, to show us his vines. He calls himself artigianale and an anarchist. He kind of goes by his own rules. And something I think we learned in the wineries of these various regions we visited is they have their own rules. Guidelines are not as stringent as they are in, as we said, in the Lascio Chianti Classico or Montepulciano or Montalcino or Carmignano.
I found this area very interesting. There are 30 to 35 producers, and they're all small producers. There's no big producer there, and it's all family owned. And if I remember correctly, there's no cooperative there. So they're all making their own wine, whether it's 1,000 bottles or 12,000 bottles or 20,000 bottles. They're all doing it at their farm.
Right.
And that was an interesting concept for me too, because that doesn't necessarily happen in Italy.
So we tasted Pier Paolo's wines, and he works with the gentleman named Michelangelo is his viticulturalist. Michelangelo Maria Tesconi, give him a shout out because he was delightful. He drove us around as well. We tasted a few wines there. The Lorieri Brut Metodo Classico. So he's making sparkling wines. It's a blend of Vermentino and Chardonnay, 48 months on lees. We did a lot of barrel tastings in this place. I think
one of the things we want to talk about with Pier Paolo is that he is known as one of the foremost authorities on the great Vermentino and how to farm it and where it farms best in the world. And he is regularly consulted on the great Vermentino.
Great point.
And makes some beautiful Vermentinos himself, obviously.
And Vermentino is a dominant white wine in this area and throughout this part of Tuscany, and it's terrific. I mean, just terrific. We tasted several barrel samples of vintages of his Vermentino. We also tasted Vermentino Nero, an IGT Toscana, aged 60 months in barrel. And that was a new one for me, a red Vermentino, and also Mazzaretta. Mazzaretta, which is known as Barcellina in Liguria, but it's a very, very indigenous grape to this area. And just lovely. I actually like that one a lot, and a lot of herbs and floral notes to it. We also had the chance to meet a few, we went to Pier Paolo's estate. It was a cool family compound and walked up and down the hills. And he does a lot of experimenting with varieties also, over 50. He's very proud of that. So like I said, he likes to experiment. Likewise, we dined with some other local producers in a very local restaurant, like no sign. Well, there was a sign. It was called La Chica de Candia. And literally, Mama Michela was in the kitchen. Her son Matteo was feeding us. Everything was delicious. I particularly like the little daisy pasta. You would never find this place. It's like if you know place.
I think they live upstairs in the restaurant, in the kitchen or in the basement.
Yeah.
And then there's a terrace that looks out over the Candia Hills and actually looks over to Pier Paolo's winery.
Exactly.
It's right across the valley from there.
Yeah, a lot of views.
Really
we met some wonderful producers: Calevro, Labura, Lodolina, and of course Lorieri, which is Scortarola.
And if you look off in the distance, there's the Apuan Alps and the marble quarries of Carrara off in the distance. So it's all pretty compact and close to itself. It's just pretty rugged to get through it.
It is. We felt really lucky to get there. If you're planning a visit, We would recommend staying close to the sea, where we stayed at the Hotel Excelsior, which is very elegante, a spectacular terrace. That town has a lot going on. It's a very beautiful seaside town. We ate at a Michelin restaurant called La Peniche. Has lots of eateries. So Excelsior is where you want to stay.
Pretty town, nice beach.
Yeah, very nice beach, and then do a tour.
Yeah,
Hire a
and
tour.
obviously very busy in the summertime.
Yeah, very busy. We were lucky it wasn't busy,
Right.
and we had the whole restaurant to
Yeah,
ourselves.
the Hotel Excelsior, which is where we stayed for the 2 nights that we were in the area, was a beautiful hotel
Mhm.
owned by a local family,
Yes,
and it's really a top-notch hotel. Very well appointed, wonderful
Mm-hmm.
food. We met the chef who had actually also trained in London,
very nice guy.
and was also a trained sushi chef, by the way. So they actually have a sushi program there as well.
Apparently, it's very popular.
So- Yeah, quite popular.
Yeah,
It was really a nice place to spend a little bit of time. We sat up on the terrace overlooking
spectacular.
with the chef and Pier Paolo, and drank some
We
sparkling
drank
wine.
his sparkling wine, the
Yeah.
Laurier sparkling wine. It was really special. So stay in the town. I think the town is called Massa. And
It is Massa.
yeah, Massa and the Hotel Excelsior, gorgeous hotel.
Yeah.
So that was the northernmost area we went. I felt it was more remote, even though technically it's not, because as you said, Pietrosanto's nearby, Montecatini's not far, Porto de Marmi, where I've been in the past. All these are like very shishi
Yeah.
resorts.
And then further south is Livorno, and Pisa is there as well.
Right.
So it's all kind of in the same area.
Yeah.
It just takes a little bit of time to get from one
And
place to another.
Livorno, we didn't do on this stop, but we had done last year, and that's a great stop. We'd actually like to go back. It's like a little Venice on the sea. Our next stop, though, we headed further south. It was about almost a 90-minute drive south. And boy, when you got out of the car, you could feel the difference in temperature. We were in Bolgheri, DOC Bolgheri, the birthplace of the super Tuscan wine. And this is really on the coast. You start feeling that sea air. We were on the coast up there too, up in Massa. So you're still feeling the sea air, but it seems warmer and beachier feeling. This is an area best known for some of the most famous super Tuscan wines in the world. You've got Tenuta Sanguido, who makes Sassicaia, Ornellaia, and Grattamacco. These are wineries, the producers that broke the rules. They wanted to create wines their way using international varieties as well as indigenous. And some of these wines command thousands of dollars a bottle.
Yeah.
However, we didn't go visit any of those. We visited some producers that are more approachable and make phenomenally good wines. Interestingly, the first producer we met is the son of the founder of Grattamacco, right?
Right.
So that was kind of cool. It's Agricola Giorgio Maletti Cavallari. He grew up in Bolgheri because his dad was Grattamacco, and he studied viticulture, Giorgio, and he worked in Fontecorda, Chianti, like they all do. All the young vintners go abroad, get experience, come back. And then Giorgio started his winery at the age of 24. So he's a young winemaker in 2002.
Yeah, and his father, Mr. Maletti, has also sold Grattamacco
Correct.
at this point. It's now owned by Claudio Tipa, who
Mhm.
also owns Colonnassari in the Montecucco region
Correct.
of Tuscany, which is much further east and south. But Grattamacco, of course, is one of the great super Tuscan producers.
Giorgio
in the
took us
region.
by there to
Yeah.
see it.
Actually, we stopped
We
in.
had a
and
little sparkling
stopped in and
Vermentino.
stopped in and had a glass of wine while we were there.
Yeah, because that's what you do.
Yeah.
But I thought Giorgio's wines are beautiful. This is a pretty winery. There's beautiful
Yeah, it's
flowers. I think there's a place you can stay. Yeah, he has an agritourism, Villa Bolgheri. It's a renovated farmhouse with 5 apartments, just about 4 kilometers from the sea. This is very seaside. We actually went to a seaside restaurant for lunch and
Yeah,
more wine because
it's
Sola
maybe
Luna.
Maybe it's 2 kilometers, maybe to the sea. It's not very far.
No, not at
Very
all.
close. And then, obviously, again, resort towns dot
Mhm.
this section of the coast of
Mhm.
Tuscany, and where we had lunch is one of those towns.
The town itself is Castianetto Carducci, and small tasting room, interesting art in his tasting room. Tasted a number of wines. I thought the white was interesting. It was a Vermentino Viognier blend, a little more dominant on the
Yeah,
Viognier, which is kind of another typical thing in this
We
area.
tasted 4 wines with Giorgio at the winery, and then we had another one with lunch.
The special matrimonial wine. Yeah.
Interesting. He not only makes his own wine, but he also custom produces wine for other people in the region that may grow grapes and don't have their own facilities to make wine.
Right.
And according to him, I need space. He doesn't want to stop producing the wine that he makes, but he says that he needs to build a new building at this point.
His wines are well respected.
Wines.
I thought his Rosado was beautiful. It's a kind of a medium peak Syrah Merlot blend.
Yeah.
The more dominant Syrah with cantaloupe, peach, and apricot. His reds were beautiful. I particularly liked, he did a Bolgheri is the label. It's an old term for Bolgheri. Yeah. It was a blend of Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, a lot of cherry, blackberry, and walnuts. And then another interesting was Imprompte, which is imprint. Another one of his labels, which is an IGT Toscana dominant in the Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc blend, aged 18 months.
So this would be his Super Tuscan.
His Super Tuscan. We had a long debate. He's not keen on the word Super Tuscan.
No, we had a big conversation about Super Tuscans and what the concept of Super Tuscan really means these days. And I think we touched on this last week in our show as well. So we won't get into it here, but there's obviously a lot of debate as to what qualifies as a Super Tuscan these days because it is a bit of a muddy field.
And it doesn't have to be a very expensive wine. It's a concept of a stylistically concept. So we had this wonderful lunch at Sola Luna. It's all seafood. In fact, the fisherman was eating there. He was like the VIP. And we had a beautiful wine that he released in honor of his wedding anniversary with his wife. It's a more aged 12 months Vermentino Viognier blend and aged in Tonneau. It was beautiful. Just beautiful. And what was interesting, David, is this little town, Castianetto Carducci, was completely empty. You could have cannon down the street. Now, come June and July, like now through summer, completely different.
That said, in the summer times, it's almost like the Hamptons because the 2 or 3 bedroom beach cottages sell for over $1 million.
Yeah.
Or €1 million.
Yeah, those little cottages. Yeah. I think we'd been to this town before when we were there for Casa Day. Yeah.
We were there in 2019 when we visited for the opening of Stefano Casadei's new winery that he opened with California winemaker.
Yes, Fred Klein.
Yeah.
So, and what's really fun, if you go to this area, take the boat ride to Elba. Most beautiful boat ride, blue waters ever. But we're going to keep traveling because we have places to go. Heading further south, we went to the DOC Monterigio di Massa Marittima, which is actually in the larger area of the province of Grosseto, which is very large, which is also Greater Maremma. So within Grosseto and Greater DOC Maremma, there's these smaller DOCs. Yeah. So that's important to note. This is a very smaller, established in 1994 DOC. One of the things that seemed really interesting as you drove, you could see the iron oxide in the soil, terra rossa they call it.
It starts getting redder and redder as you go in. It's interesting. This is all coastal Tuscany, but the soils on the coast vary a lot. It's very sandy further north, and there's a lot of red in the clay-like soils as you get further south.
And we saw that quite well when we toured the vineyards of Podere Chili, a family-owned winery with a great background. So the Chili family were originally winemakers in Alcama, Sicily, outside Palermo, and they moved to Tuscany, this area of Tuscany, because they had to escape poverty after World War II, and they resettled. It's a 9-hectare farm. The 3rd generation is running it. The family welcomed us.
And all 3 generations are running it.
They were all there.
Now. So the grandfather who started it is still there.
Yeah.
And then the 2nd generation, and then now the 3rd generation is starting to pitch in as well. And it's really nice to see. It's totally family run. They're totally in sync with each other.
Beautiful wines.
And they love what they do, and they make some beautiful wines. I think this was one of my favorite visits in this section of the trip because it was so nice to meet a family and speak with the family and see their passion for what they're doing. They're pretty small. They don't make a lot of wine. I think 70,000 bottles a year. That's it. But they also
30,000. Yeah.
But they also have a pasta factory or pasta. I think they're called a pastificio.
Pastificio, correct. Artisan pie. And we saw people coming up to buy it
because they actually grow wheat next to the grapes. In the next field over from the grapes.
So it was interesting.
They're making their own pastas.
They took us up to the vineyard where they hope to develop a beautiful there's this gorgeous tree. They hope to have a little tasting area under it. It's very wild, and in the distance you see this famous Castello Pia de Toleme. It's a distinct castle, and this area is called it's basically the metal hills. It's because of the vast iron oxide in them, and it's an archaeological site.
Mm-hmm.
So we could see the line of demarcation between the different soil types. You could see the brown clay and argilla, one vineyard, and then you saw the distinct iron oxide in the other. Very interesting.
And just so we're clear, we've left the coast at this point.
Yes,
so
we're a little more inland.
A bit further inland.
Yes.
To the east in the Maremma, and it's another, again, a beautiful area. I just love this area.
It's probably one less visited because it's not on the coast, but it's very interesting. And like we said, there's a big archaeological site right there, so there's not a lot of places to stay. It's protected land.
Like most wineries in the area, in the region, they do Vermentino,
of course,
and they make a beautiful Vermentino. They also did a very nice Rosato,
Pinot Nero,
or as we like to say, Rosé.
It was
and this was actually made from Pinot
That was
Noir.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Aged in
there's
steel.
a couple of wineries in that area that make Pinot Noir. We visited one about 10 years ago that also did Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
And made beautiful wines.
And you don't see that as much there.
No.
The Poggio Crocco Monterigio was a blend of Sangiovese and Merlot. Again, in this entire region, you're going to find interesting blends of local and international wines. I love this one because there's a lot of wild strawberry and raspberry in it. But I think the wine that we didn't try, the Crocchetto Trebbiano Toscana, but the wine we did try, the one I wish we bought, was the Affe Reserva 2006 Vinsanto. It was probably one of the best Vinsantos we've had
Ever. It was.
Why
amazing.
didn't we buy it?
And it was a Monterigio di Massa Maritama
Oh my God.
DOC
Yes.
Vinsanto, again made from Trebbiano mostly. I don't know if it was a blend or not.
Malvasia Trebbiano Toscana.
Yeah, Malvasia Trebbiano.
48 months.
And it spent 48 months in the Caratelli, which are the small chestnut barrels that Vinsanto is aged in.
I love this wine. You get the chestnut honey, dried apricots, candied almonds. Only 1,000 bottles made. Why didn't we buy it?
So 4 years in barrel. But this was a 2006. Oh, so beautiful. It was a 20-year-old wine, or just under 20 years. Because it's not quite September.
Fabulous.
Yeah. Just a beautiful wine.
The winemaker we were traveling with, Leonardo from Brazil, he bought the wine. Always buy the wine that the winemaker buys. If the winemaker and the master sommelier is buying the wine, buy it too.
So true. Well, I gotta tell you right now, we're going to go back because I love this winery. The family was so nice. They had a great winemaker who was from Russia that works with them, a woman, and it was just a great experience. Really great experience, and small, and they don't have anywhere to stay. It's just on the highway, or what they call the highway. It's not really a highway; it's a road. But we'll post all of this on the Connected Table blog, so you can plan and obviously reach out to us if you want more. Our next stop was completely the other end of the spectrum. So we went from this little family roadside, like a farm stand, right, to one of the great designs in winery architecture by one of the most famous Italian architects of this era. Oh, famous architects. Period. Yeah. Renzo Piano. Yeah. Okay. So he did the New York Times building. He's done the Whitney Museum, the Morgan Museum, and that's just in New York. I mean, he's done many famous buildings all around the world. So the story goes is that in the mid 1990s, Paolo Panerai, who's a media magnate and also does the watches, and also is the owner of Castellare di Castellina in Chianti Classico, a very well-known winery, approached Baron Eric de Rothschild, who I've actually had dinner with in Nashville a long time ago. Nice guy, and of Domaine Lafitte, and said, I've got a piece of land that I'm looking at in the Maremma. I'd like you to come and take a look at it. I'd like to see if you might want to come in to work with me on this, and we could build the project together. And he brought Eric in, and Eric said, yes, but I don't want it to be a small project. Go big or go home. Go big. So they actually bought 500 hectares together, which is about 1,250 acres. Yeah. And it's a huge piece of property. And then because Paolo knew Renzo Piano, he said, Renzo, I'd like for you to build the winery for me and design the winery. And Renzo said to him, I don't do wineries. I have never done a winery. I don't know what to do. But he came and looked at the space, and his mind started to work. And he ended up designing just a beautiful masterpiece of a winery. It's just gorgeous to look at.
You know, when you drive up to it, it reminds me of like a very modern weather center, because there's like this tall tower and it's low on the ground, and then you see this tall vein, like a weather vane, but it's not. And it's in terracotta because you've got the terra rossa soils. It's really quite beautiful. And leading up to it, there's 2 giant man-made lakes.
Yeah, and
vineyards.
The road into it, there's nothing except the winery and the vineyards for probably a kilometer.
It's long, and then these lakes. Yeah. So that's it, because you're surrounded. It's a lot of land,
and it's a very unimposing winery from the outside until you get up close to it. You see the size of it,
and then you're like,
pretty
wow.
big. And it's just got some beautiful architectural points to it that really make it stand out.
Simple design, you know, because you go to a lot of places and there's a lot of ornateness, very modern and really in harmony with nature. The entire welcome area, the welcome center, where you can also go buy wine. We saw customers coming in to buy wine. It's just surrounded by glass. All you see is land. Yeah. It's beautiful. And then you see this incredible work of art in David LaChapelle's Rapture of the Grapes, which is like a centerpiece right there.
And that's Dave LaChapelle, the comedian, by the way.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
Yeah.
I knew it was an artist. It was a beautiful work of art. And it was created for Rocca di Frassinella's 10th anniversary vintage. Who knew? I missed that part. But so Rocca di Frassinella means a fortress of the rock, fortress of the Frassinella. And it was a big fortress area. What's interesting is you go in and there's this vast 360-degree, huge welcome area. There were bicycles there. There had just been a big bicycle thing.
Yeah, the upstairs is basically four glass walls.
Yeah,
leading out to the rooftop of the winery itself, which is down below. So the winery is built as all gravity feed, minimal intervention, that kind of thing. They did a very nice job designing it that way. And then you go downstairs into the actual winery itself, and Melanie, it's got to be one of the most beautiful barrel rooms I've ever seen.
It's an amphitheater.
Most impressive barrel rooms ever. It's an
amphitheater / cathedral in wine.
Yeah, it's a 4-walled square amphitheater of barrels.
It's just incredible.
There's not a support pillar in the place, so Renzo Piano did his homework on that.
Yeah, 2,000 barrels.
It's up to 2,000 barrels.
So what's neat about this, it really is like you want to go down there and start hearing opera or angels, depending on your mood. And this was not our first visit. So our very first visit, we were there on a Maremma tour with the consortio, and we actually had lunch in that amazing barrel room. We didn't this time. We had a wonderful dinner where we did the tasting, but it is quite spectacular and totally different from above. What's interesting is when the excavation started to build the winery, they found many ancient Etruscan artifacts that they exhumed, and there is a museum right next to the barrel.
Well, they actually found a mostly intact Etruscan necropolis, which is tomb.
Yes.
Which was on the property as well. So of course, the historians came in and immediately closed everything down. So that they could excavate the necropolis, and they turned what they found into a museum, which is in the winery.
Right. And it's next to the barrel room. It has some beautiful pieces in there. It's quite remarkable that they were able to exhume and resume, because you can't do that with a lot of ancient sites. And as we noted with the last winery, this whole area is basically part of most of this area is a giant archaeological site from ancient Etruscans. When you think about it, that's why they often refer to this area as the ancient Etruscan Trail.
Yes.
Just FYI.
Actually there's a couple of the most important Etruscan villages or cities, as they may have called them back then, but they wouldn't be big enough to call that now. Were in this region.
Yeah. So if you're into ancient history, Roman history, this is a great place to be. You'll feel it. And I'm sure there are special tours just for that.
Yeah.
But we were here for the wine and the food. So let's talk about the wines are they're available in the United States.
So let's talk about what they grow first
Yes.
of all, because it's a vast winery, 500
Very.
hectares,
Mhm.
and I think 90 or 100 of it is dedicated to vineyard space.
Yes.
The other part is wild, so they grow obviously a little bit of that Vermentino.
Mhm.
Because we're in that region, but they mostly international varieties, and I think that's the Baron de Rothschild influence, and the fact that because they were not in Chianti Classico, Paolo wanted to make international varieties at this winery.
So you've got Syrah, Merlot,
So they do
Cabernet Sauvignon.
Syrah, Merlot, Cabernet.
But you also have a Sangiovese, which is a specific Sangiovese clone they brought over from Castellari di Castellina.
Right.
So you also have that. Lots of clay, limestone, sea fossils, and iron oxides, similar to where you get just trod and Bolgheri and very mineral rich. So we had the great pleasure of tasting and dining with Massimo Casagrande, who is the longtime technical director at Rocca di Frassinello. We'd met him before. We'll probably have him on the show. They had a chef on site who made a wonderful dinner. David had one version and I had another because they knew I didn't eat meat. The wines are definitely wines you want to have with meat, but I must say they paired beautifully with my pasta and my tagliatelle truffles.
And these wines are big, opulent wines.
Opulent.
They're collector wines.
Mm-hmm.
They are made for a type of palate that just loves a rich, voluptuous style of wine.
Definitely.
And that's what these wines deliver. And
what were some highlights? I liked. Well, we had the Bianco, the Toscana, which was a Batonnage Vermentino, 9 months on lees, quite nice. Everybody has their house Vermentino. That was theirs.
Yeah.
Arnello, which is I think if you call entry, was a blend of Sangiovese, Syrah, and Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. These are all blends.
Yeah. And originally the Ornello, which is a big seller for them, was originally actually created for the U.S. market.
Exactly.
And it was only sold in the U.S. market, so it wasn't sold anywhere else in Europe. They've since rescinded that, and they're selling it around the world now due to its popularity. But it's a lovely entry-level wine.
And it's the only one with Syrah. It's the only one with a little bit of Syrah in it.
And that little bit of Syrah because of that was tobacco-y leather character.
Yeah,
it was really quite nice. 40% Sangiovese, Syrah 20%, Cabernet 20%, Merlot 10%.
Yeah,
just that touch of Syrah. Yeah.
Loved it. And then Rocca di Frassinello 22, and again IGT Toscano. It is what they say their original Super Tuscan, if you want to use that term. Sangiovese 60%. So I would think some of the original Super Tuscans were still more Sangiovese dominant as they moved into doing a mix. I don't know, but I'm presuming.
Well, original Sangiovese, originally back in the 1960s,
right?
When Super Tuscans were first created, I think it was Tignanello, which was the first Super Tuscan back in the 1960s. That was created with 100% Sangiovese.
Right.
And the reason it was a Super Tuscan was because at the time, Chianti Classico, you had to include white wine in the Sangiovese blend.
Exactly.
White grapes. So they couldn't call it Chianti Classico at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was where the Super Tuscan was born. So there are a lot of Super Tuscans that are 100% Sangiovese, and that's the provenance of it.
That's a good point. And I think over time, the blends with international varieties, you really see mainly the main indigenous being Sangiovese, and then at least where we have tasted so far, we have many more places to go. So the Rocca di Frassinello IGT Toscana, again, 60% Sangiovese, Cabernet Sauvignon 20, Merlot 20, 24 months in barrique. It was so silky.
Yeah, it was a lovely wine. So that was what they call their original one. And then we get to the big daddy, the Baffanero, which is their super Tuscan. It's also the estate's first single varietal. It's 100% Merlot.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Merlot, Melanie. And this wine is there are a couple of 100% Merlots in the Tuscan coast that are super Tuscans. Massetto is one of them.
So a super Tuscan could be a single variety or a blend. Very important to note. Yeah.
So this is the Baffanero. We tasted the 2021 vintage.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful
chocolate, dark chocolate,
black inky. Just a lovely wine.
Yeah.
Baffinero actually means black mustache, and legend has it there was a boar hunter that used to hunt the property, and he had a black mustache.
It was terrific.
And they've come up with a whole marketing campaign around the black mustache now.
Yeah, you'll go into the tasting room, and tastings are by appointment, and you'll see like Audrey Hepburn and Marilyn Monroe with the black mustache.
So one of the things I found, one of the reasons they planted Merlot in that particular vineyard that they pulled this from is because they did some soil samples, and they found that the samples were rich in galestro, which is the kind of porous
clay and limestone
soil that you find a lot of in the south of France too. And also in Montalcino. But then also there was a lot of blue clay in the soil, and Merlot takes particularly well to blue clay.
That's interesting.
And so they were able to figure that out, and they planted this particular vineyard to Merlot, which is where they bring the Baffinero from.
It's so interesting how different grapes flourish in different soils, and in one winery there'll be different types of soil depending on location.
Yeah.
And this is anywhere in the world, but he was driven home on this trip and many others. So we stayed at Rocca di Frastinello. Since our first visit, they now have opened up some rooms that you can stay in. Very simple, modern, patio overlooking the olive trees,
and the surrounding hills. It's a beautiful way to wake up.
And we had dinner there. Everything is by appointment, but definitely if you want that incredible, particularly if you're an architectural fan and you like these super Tuscan lush plush wines, definitely make Rocca di Frastinello one of your trips to make. Now, then our next winery, the neat thing about this is when we told Massimo Casagrande, he said, where are you going next? And we told him the winery. He said, I love this winery. And I'm like, oh, well, if you like it, we're going to really love it. The drive was interesting to me, David, because it became more familiar because we've been to Montalcino and the surrounding area and Buoncavento. We've been to this area so many times. It all became very familiar to me, Valdorta, the Orcia Valley, the Mount Amiata in the distance, and we kind of passed Montalcino away for old time's sake, and then ended up literally in the slopes of Mount Amiata.
Yeah, in the Montecucco area,
yes,
which is right across the Orcia River from Montalcino.
So let's just put that into perspective a little bit better.
It's further east.
So you've got Montalcino on one side of the Orcia River and Valdorta on the other side, correct? And then Montecucco's on the Montalcino side, but further east. Am I getting my map right?
Well, it's on the east side of the Orcia River.
Okay, the east side. So there you've got the Orcia River is like with the Arno further up toward Firenze. This winery is small. It's owned by a husband and wife. It's called Amiato. Let me get the correct name. Sorry, Amiato di Vulcano.
Yeah, Amiata I Vini del Vulcano.
Yeah, Amiata I Vini del Vulcano. So the wines of the volcano. It's all Sangiovese, and the three wines they make are all fabulous. The couple is Simone Toninelli, and he wines it with his wife Stefania. Simone was born and raised in the Amiata area. He left a law career to come back to the land. And Stefania is from France. She's actually trained in viticulture. They have a delightful little art-filled.
She's also a paper mache artist.
Yeah, living room tasting filled with her paper mache art, which is everywhere. She happens to love rabbits also. I want to introduce her to Cousin Hunt. What's cool about he does rabbits, the cool thing about this small, inviting living room / you feel like you're there at home. We are in their home, I think.
I think we were in there.
You look out and you just see the valley and the mountains. And we could see birds flying past the window. Remember that? Like hawks or something. It was so beautiful. You just were like, wow.
Yeah. So let's talk about the soils here.
Oh, yes.
And where we are. So this is the slopes of Mount Amiata, which is an extinct volcano.
Right.
So these are volcanic soils.
Exactly.
So there's no more red clay. There's no more galestro. It's the
trace elements.
It's the volcanic soils of the extinct volcano.
So mineral
great place
trace
for
elements.
producing wine. We all know. We all love the volcanic wines. We've tasted them from around the world, and they're always super good minerality, etc. He makes about 12,000 bottles a year, not very much.
Very small.
And he has a good sales program. He sells out every year. He's got a lot of international buyers that buy his wine, and
Yeah.
he's got a lot
Collectors.
of accolades as well.
And he gets a lot of visitors, he
And he
said,
also gets a lot of visitors at his place.
by appointment. So this area is called the Golden Valley because of its amazing ideal growing conditions.
Yeah.
And the wines actually are named for volcanic elements that you'll find in the soil,
Yeah.
starting with the first one, which is lapilo. Lapile is the means little fire.
Which is, it's basically eruption, which is little
Yeah.
fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lavico is his second wine, and that means from lava.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cenere, which is ash.
Right. And then I think the
So
lapilo
that's-
also refers to little fire, but also the little stones. They call
Yeah.
them the lapilo stones that come out, the rocks and all the stuff
Yeah,
that
so
comes
so
out.
those are the 3 wines we tasted. He
Mhm.
I think he grows 3 hectares of grapes, not
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah.
But they range, he has 3 vineyard sites. So they range
Mhm.
from 450 meters up to 650 meters in the highest vineyard site. And they're all right around the winery.
So the Reserva was the Cenere, 16 months in barrique, 2 years in bottle. It was incredible. Blackberry currant, anise, leather, balsamic were some of my notes. All the wines were fabulous.
Yeah, so-
That was a 2016. And I just loved.
Yeah, it was a lovely, lovely place. He also makes some very nice olive oil. And
Got
of course,
some.
Stefania's art is worth a trip to go see as well.
Mhm.
The location was Castel del Piano, which
Grosseto.
is in the Grosseto province on the side of Mount Amiata in Montecucco.
It is a beautiful
Yeah.
location.
It's a gorgeous spot.
And definitely, if you're driving, it's with it. The closest town, just for perspective, is Siena. Large
That's the closest city.
City. The closest town is the one we went to next, Buoncovento, which is a little medieval village. It's a walled city built in 1379. It's consistently named one of the prettiest little villages of Italy.
Mhm.
We had a friend who lived there and visited a while back. It's on the famous ancient pilgrim road, the Via Francigena, which is also bisects to like Valdorcia, right?
Yeah, it actually goes from Canterbury to Israel.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of the pilgrim roads.
It's a long
Yeah,
pilgrim
so
road.
that and the Compostela that goes through Spain. Santiago de Compostela is also part of that network of.
So that's why
pilgrim
you were talking about we need to do the pilgrim route.
Yeah.
I didn't know
routes. So
that
that's
long.
that's one of the big pilgrim routes. And originally it starts in Canterbury and it either goes out to the coast of Spain or it goes down and you can actually jump the Adriatic Sea and go over to Israel from there.
Well, in a little bit of time left, let's talk about our last stop because it was kind of fun. So Pier Paolo, who I think is the mayor of Tuscany, he oversees the Strada del Vino, Olio and Sapori route and organization. So he was with us throughout. He was the guy at Scortarola, back up in the Candia Hills, nimbly going through the vineyards. So we were driving, and we went to go have lunch at literally a roadside restaurant that locals were in, and he knew the owner, and they were buddies.
Well, they had gone to vinology school together.
Yeah, and they were buddies. And this owner was also Ranucci Neri, also had a winery. So we had this really lovely lunch, very
So
simple.
we stopped in his roadside trattoria and he brought out some of his own wines.
Yeah.
And he makes great wines.
They
I
were
think, too.
delicious.
Yeah.
Campriano
Yeah.
is the label. Chianti Colisinese. I think you tasted more than me. I mean, I had a very simple. I mean, it was very meat centric, so I had a little pasta.
And
salad.
Colisinese is one
Mhm.
of which is basically the Siena Hills.
Right.
That's
It's
what
one
it
of the
translates
Chianti
to.
Hills.
It's one
right?
of the Chianti production areas.
Yeah,
of
the little
Tuscany.
Chiantis. So we had a Trebbiano Toscana Malvasia white, which I loved because by then I was hot and just needed something with my salad.
It did go down easy.
It went down very easy.
Yeah.
And then we had the Campriano Rosso, which is Chilagiolo and Canolo Nero. So we're back to indigenous. And then his last one was this, I think you tasted, I didn't,
The
David.
Stile di Capriano. It was an IGT Rosso Tuscan. And it was a Sangiovese Colisinese wine. It was delicious.
So the name of this little restaurant, in case you're driving to Buoncovento, is Amici di Campriano. So friends of Campriano, and Pier Paolo Loria was definitely an Amici. I just sent him today a cute photograph I took of him and Ranuccio, old buddies.
It
seems like everybody knows everybody.
Buoncovento is basically the village at the bottom of the hill of the hilltop town of Montalcino, which is where Brunello is made. So it gets a lot of travel, and President Obama actually stayed there Barack and Michelle Obama stayed in Buonconvento when they did a Tuscan vacation a number of years ago. And they have pictures around town, and they actually created a plaque in town of his visit. It's a very historic place, and just for that.
And definitely, if you want something charming and small, a place to put on your list. I mean, this whole little area we're talking about in the what I call the Montalcino, Montecucco, a little further out, Orcha area, and it's just lovely.
Yeah.
And the wines are fabulous, very different from further north. Really delightful, and it was for us the end of this incredible Wild West tour of Tuscany. We loved it and can't wait to go back. Maybe do it another time of year.
Yeah.
To try different cuisines.
And for those people that go into Florence or start in Rome and immediately go up to Florence or vice versa, take some time and go out towards the coast of Tuscany, because there's a lot to see there, and there's a lot to do. A lot of great wines, very good food,
and probably less traffic.
And probably a little bit less traffic, maybe not in the summertime.
I don't know. You know, the theory is where there's an airport, there's more traffic.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful region, and one that we were not as familiar with, and we're so glad that we took the time to go and drive the Tuscan coast.
And we want to thank everybody who worked on this. A lot of good people put a lot of thought and care into planning this. We will be sharing this itinerary also on the Connected Table blog, actually location by location, because there's so much. And hopefully we'll be able to help all of you plan, because it's a great experience. And as always, we want you to step out of what you know and are familiar with to discover new places. And we love Tuscany. And I think what I've learned as I go back over and over again, Tuscany is very diverse. There's not one Tuscany. There's definitely one Tuscan pride, but there's many Tuscanies within Tuscany to discover.
Very true.
Yeah. So we
That's
hope
all
you enjoyed
worthwhile.
this, and grazie mille per tutti, and enjoy your wine no matter where you travel. Always learn to eat and drink with pleasure and with gratitude, and always stay insatiably curious. Thank you. Grazie.